Well, hello. I guess people in Indiana don't know when 3 o'clock is. So I had to start a little bit early. Mo will be joining me a little bit later after she picks up her kiddos from school. Wasn't quite ready, but you know how it goes. So yeah, give me just one sec because I seriously was not quite ready. Oh, goodness. And if you already know what it is, don't spoil it, anybody, please. I already know what it is. So. All righty. Also, I have Super Baby, so forgive me for my noises here. All right. Give me one sec. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. It's pretty short, and we'll go from there.
Kyle, you just came out. What's the verdict?
Richard Allen is found guilty on all 4 counts of murder in the deaths nearly 8 years after Abby Williams and Libby German died near the Monon High Bridge in February of 2017. Inside the courthouse, it was both the families seemed relieved, about 25 of them for each family. Doug Carter held the hand of Becky Patty, and the Allen family sobbed as they heard.
Imagine
Richard
they
Allen
did.
Remained completely unfazed looking. And we now know that the sentencing will come December 20th.
What was the most emotional part, Kyla, in the courtroom? Was it coming from Abby and Libby's family? Was it, did Richard Allen's family cry? What was the most emotional part?
I would say the most emotional part was when that first count was read. Judge Gold read that. And in the second part was when they took a poll of all 12 jurors, each one of them saying, yes, that was their verdict on all 4 counts. Richard Allen was guilty.
What were the looks on the faces of the jurors as that verdict was read?
For the most part, they seemed not shocked. They seemed relieved for the most part. I saw one kind of sigh into his hands. Of course, they deliberated for 19 hours, been there for days now, and have been sequestered from their families, jobs, homes for a month.
And I believe, so were you surprised when you came out and there was the cheer?
I will say, there's kind of been an interesting dynamic out here I've been here in Carroll County at the Delphi, at the Carroll County Courthouse for many, many days. And sometimes, there were people that were Richard Allen supporters. There were people that were really there to remember the girls. And for the most part, it seemed split down the line. So there were higher cheers than I realized.
Yeah, Cody, Kyla, what was it like? Ask Kyla. I don't know if she has an earpiece in IFB. Ask her what it was like inside the courtroom with your cheers inside the courtroom. What was that like? Walk us through that a little bit more if she can.
Yeah, Phil wants to know, were there cheers inside of the courtroom?
The courtroom remained relatively silent, honestly. I mean, after that 4th count was read, we did hear sobs from Richard Allen's wife, Kathy Allen, and his mom, Janice. For the most part, other than that, it was quiet. I did see Becky Patty kind of sigh in relief when that 3rd count was read, and especially when that 4th count was read.
Now, Kyla, just a couple of minutes ago, we saw the jury vans leave, and we also saw the vehicle that Richard Allen had been taken in throughout this entire trial also leave. So did he leave the courtroom at a certain point along with the jury?
He left right after the jury. So the jury left, and then Richard Allen himself left. They let the Allen family leave, and then finally they let Abby Williams and Libby German's family leave.
Now, do we have a sense of when we might hear from either the prosecution or the defense? Because we do have a place set up for a press conference. Do we have an idea of when that might happen?
I will say they didn't indicate when they might speak. I'm sure they have many things to say, both of them. My My hunch is that the prosecution will be out here momentarily. They did seem excited. I saw Nick McClelland kind of fall into his hands. It's
She
been
seems a
8
little
years since the
excited
girls
too.
died, and something that he
Typical.
has personally made his mission here as a prosecutor. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to touch on
Go ahead,
something.
one more question, Cody. Then I want to bring Mario back in, okay? So go one more question with Kyla. I'll bring Mario back in. You guys sit tight. Go ahead. One more question to Kyla.
Yeah, so Kyla, we have one more question. The sighing, and you've mentioned that a couple of times. Can you get a sense that they are just tired? Everybody associated with this case is just tired, and they're glad it's over.
Yes, Cody, here's the biggest thing on my notes, and you'll see it kind of underlined and circled. Exasperated is the word, exhausted. Judge Gold said many times, you all must be exhausted. She said that even right before and right after she read the verdict, and it's certainly something that I think is a theme for both the defense and the prosecution, and of course, the jury.
All right, Kyla, thank you so much. Phil, we'll send it back to you there in the studio.
Okay, hey guys, sit tight. We'll get back to you momentarily, okay? We'll bring Mario Masalamani back in. Again, a noted defense attorney. He's been with us throughout the trial. You know him well from our All Indiana Politics show.
Well, my apologies. My dogs apparently don't like the verdict either. Yeah, Gabby, apparently Indiana does not know what 3 o'clock means. That'll be years, Adair. You have to exhaust all appeals, everything before you can even look at it. So, guilty on all charges. But that news reporter, not this guy up here, but the other one, she seemed almost excited about it. It was kind of gross. It was just kind of gross. Sorry. I don't know how they did that, but we were having a chat over on Baker's channel. Mo's supposed to be here as soon as she gets her kids from school, but they weren't supposed to do this yet, so it should be a little late. So caffeine. People in chat on Baker's channel seem to really be hung up on the confessions. I'm going to take this down. I don't know. It's like, here's the thing. We weren't allowed to see, so we don't know. When we were explaining things to Baker this morning, he didn't even know anything. Like, he had not followed this. He had us on because everybody kept asking him about it. He left that stream like, WTF's going on here? And, obviously we have our opinions on it. And I know it wasn't presented in court. And I tell you that, guys, all the time. If it's not presented in court, it's not evidence. You can't consider it. It is sad that it wasn't allowed to be presented in court, because when you read that Frank's motion and you read what people said to investigators and were never investigated, you'll never get me past that. And this is one of those things where this is why I don't do deep dives into trials beforehand, because I don't want to know this information that wasn't allowed in. I want to be like the jury, that's what they had to go on. That's it. But I've not even got halfway through this yet. And I can't understand why he was sitting there. Just based, okay, fine, investigate the people and then clear them. But you cleared them. Like, you just were like literally nothing to see here. But you didn't give me anything to see over here. So I don't know. It would be very interesting to see. Maybe the jurors will talk, hopefully. hope they maybe do. I don't know if I would, because it's been so divided. And the town is their jurors are not from that town, so that will help them. I don't know. Would you talk? Would you speak to the media? I don't know. I see both sides because I'm very curious. Was it the confessions? Was it those I only say so-called because we only know what's being brought out of the courtroom to us. And there was even split there. There were people sitting in the courtroom that thought this was the correct verdict, and there's people sitting in that courtroom that I know didn't think this was the correct verdict. So, yes, Richard Allen has been found guilty on all 4 counts. I know that makes some people happy. Listen, if he did it, great. Then he's going where he should be. Everything that man went through and everything that we've seen, or haven't seen, because again, we've only got what's been brought out to us because the judge wouldn't allow us to see it. The state wouldn't allow us to see it. So that's always just if the defense wants to hide things, I'm like, oh, fine, you're the defense. You want to hide things. I get it. Whatever. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it more than if the state wants to. When the state wants to hide things and do things like they've done in this case, it will not sit right with me. From when the judge tried to get these lawyers thrown off, when every ruling pretty much went against them. The woman that's saying the I was watching an interview, I'm not going to mention their names. She was saying that and I get if you don't want to believe in neonatism, fine, take that off the table, but you can't take what was said off the table. You can't take, if my spit is found on one of their bodies, but I can explain it away, am I in trouble? You can't take, yeah, he borrowed my car, went up to see people up in Delphi, brought it back, it was covered in blood. He basically told me, don't ask. You did nothing? You looked in at 0? And I know the jury didn't have that information, but that means there's still something there that everybody's just going, nope, doesn't exist. I don't know. It's there is no such thing. There is no such thing. I wish there was. I wish trials can be funny. Trials can be funny. Why have him in prison? That's another thing. There was the amount of transparency when I hear attorneys try to I don't have any pull to get any anything, I'm not an attorney. I don't know how to get these documents and things like that. I've already been in trouble for having her on screen today, so all we can do is ask for forgiveness, right? That's right. But they even said the safekeeping order is just been, I don't know that anybody has seen it yet. Richard Allen wasn't even there for that. He didn't have an attorney. There had been nothing had been done to him to make them say we got to get him out of here. So that's all really weird. And who knows? There will be some things I think that will be sealed in this case, probably permanently. I don't know, maybe the crime scene photos. They typically seal a lot of that stuff, Adair. The transcripts will eventually be available, but those are very, very expensive to get. And they take a long time because you have to go, every day, and every and ah and it has to be in those. So they do take a long time to get, and they're very costly. But there was no cameras in the courtroom for it to be public. You can't watch it on replay. Yeah, she's say, I can just make everybody feel a little bit better. Right? Right? Is that you up there? That's a real baby. Not mine. Not mine. I did not take a pregnant pause. She's laughing at Swiper. I don't have it up. I did earlier. If she's laughing at anything, she's laughing at the news people. I was going to go check to see what else is going on with everybody else. I didn't know if people that were there are going to go live. It looks like the Defense Diaries is live. I don't. I don't. She's really very good at flipping things off. That is her power. Isn't it? That's your power. So, I don't know. Adair, I think you're probably the one I probably was guilty. The rest of you, not guilty. Yes, I can, and I will continue to be as long as there is hair color in a bottle that covers it up. Hello, Rachel. Thank you. It's actually my granddaughter. She's been good, giving us a little bit of happiness. So, if you guys are just joining, oh, really? Well, thank you. I had a good time over there last night. That was fun. So, I don't know if you're saying what to. Oh, yes. I am. Thank you very, very much. I'm 18 and my kids are not in their 30s and one pushing 30. Baby Grant. I'm trying, Baker. I already got in trouble. her mom called me, or her mom texted me and said, you did not try to keep her off the screen. And I said, she was still in the show. What could I do? So, Baker, I don't know if you heard, guilty on all 4 counts. I know you're not quite there, Carmen, but you are knocking on the door of 30. Rachel, you're my new best friend. My new best friend. We're gonna wait on Mo. I agree 100%, Mag in Florida. 100%. Too much doubt. I saw you. I saw you. I agree. I did not expect it, honestly. I expected either hung or not guilty, but then when they said they had the verdict, as long as it took them, I really thought, okay, they're just being really, really careful. And I think Baker said it earlier on his stream, even if he's guilty, they haven't presented enough to, hang on one second. There she is.
Hello.
Hello, sorry. Indiana apparently doesn't know what 3 means.
Oh, so I was hauling ass like I have nothing on because I didn't wanna, like, hear anything, and I'm thinking, "Okay, I've got 1 minute."
Yeah,
So
no, they already announced it. They announced
Oh,
it, like, at 2:35.
really?
Yes, guilty on all 4 counts.
Okie dokie. I mean, I guess this isn't as shocking, just with the confessions, I think that the confessions were going to be a hard hurdle for a lot of people, and I know this isn't what we wanted to hear. This is, terrible news, um, if you believe that Richard Allen wasn't proven guilty, but I do think that there is a lot of, there for an appeal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that it's more comforting to accept that Richard Allen did all this by himself, and, we don't have any evidence, but we have the answer now, and I think some people are okay with that, and I will be interested when jurors come out, what swayed them, because I think that's gonna be a big question for a lot of us is, who what they thought was the connective evidence, and, and they weren't privy to a lot of things that we've been privy to. So
Yeah.
I do wonder if things are going to change once I'm sure they're gonna wanna stay far away from this case. I mean, but this is not shocking, unfortunately. This is not shocking that, a confession's a confession. And unless you really wanna dig deep into that, and then digging deep into that means you have to question the authority under which you live. And,
Right.
you know, I'm not happy with this verdict. I think a lot of people are going to be very upset about this verdict and asking a bunch of questions. But I do think that, the jury had a hard choice up in there. I mean, I was in a nothing case, and I barely slept the day before I did jury duty because I knew whatever, the 12 of us picked out, whatever we figured out, was going to affect families, an entire family, a person's life. So I'm sure they felt a distinct need to also bring justice, um, in whatever way they could. So I'm trying not to get super bummed out, but I do think that will be interesting if any of their opinions change once they're kind of exposed to different information.
And by that time, it's too late,
Yeah, well, I know that,
you know? And
unfortunately.
it just sucks at that point. I gotta thank you,
Yeah.
Baker.
Sorry, y'all, I was hauling behind. I was like, "Happy Veterans Day, move out the way." Like, it's like, "I need you to just throw the children out to me. They'll duck and
Yes.
roll, and
Yes.
we'll get into the car." And that's after my car was almost towed this morning.
Oh,
Good thing
no.
Mr. Mo Yeah, so a guy was coming here for a Toyota Odyssey, which is a minivan, and he took my new to me RAV4, had it all, like, up on the thing, went in to ring the doorbell. Mr. Mo answered the door, and he's like, "I need the key fob to the Odyssey so I can take it in." And he's like, "Why the hell are you taking our car?"
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "I'm here, it's an Odyssey." And he said, "Well, that's a
That's
RAV4,
a
so you have a couple
They
things."
don't look anything alike.
No, so
What the
apparently my car
heck?
almost got towed. He was at the wrong address. He's like, "Yeah, I'm here for an Odyssey." I was like, "Hey, even I know that's a minivan."
Yeah, they don't look anything alike. What the heck?
Yeah, so it looks like sentencing is on the 20th, and then the gag order is still on until
Why?
then
Jess, like, why? It Did he have his
That,
glasses on?
oh, well, because he couldn't
Oh,
see
I was
the
like, I was thinking Richard Allen. Sorry.
took his
Sorry,
glass.
Haley.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that here's what we need to do. If you really and truly don't believe that Richard Allen did this, it's, we can have this bad day. We can, lick our wounds a little bit, but then we need to start, grassrooting this, talk to the habeas, look at what is going to be involved in an appeal case. I mean, I have seen amazing mobilization for the Zachariah Anderson case. So I can only imagine what a bunch of, dedicated people working together, looking at this from all angles could do. Is it what we wanted to be saying? No, of course not. But, let's have today, let's, kind of feel in our feelings about it. And then I, I'm not shaving my head, y'all.
Oh
Look, I
no,
have a divvy head. I'm not shaving my head. There's no way. But we can definitely start looking at what's the appeal. And, you know, unfortunately, this isn't the way we wanted things to turn out, but that defense team has been a beast and a half, even with both hands tied behind their back. So, the fact that
absolutely.
it took this long when the state basically presented it as an open and shut case meant that they gave that jury a lot to think about. Now, um, that's kind of where I am at this. I've been preparing myself to, this being an eventuality because of the confessions. I think the confessions, had they not had them, I don't think this would have gone through. But I think the confessions, you still have so many people that not in that situation would say, I'd never confess to anything, that I didn't do. And this is such a huge confession to try to get, out of.
Yeah.
And it certainly is much more comforting to think this one dude did it. We've got him off the street. We don't have to look at this any further. We don't have to investigate how our investigation was terrible. This was the guy. I know Long Kong Express. I know what they don't, but I can understand the sort of cheap comfort that they give people, when there was so much other reasonable doubt. And you've got to think, even though these people are from Allen County, the jury is, we don't know how far this whole, thing goes on. We don't know how many people have, big friends. They could have been feeling just as much pressure to find him guilty, and that might be something that comes out.
This gag order thing is bothering me. Why? The verdict's out. What are you doing now?
Yeah,
Like,
well, could it be like the Karen Reed where they're still fighting to get, the sidebar stuff, even though they've said, look, we don't want the jury's name. We don't want juries, any of that, this, that, and the other. But the state's still saying, oh, they're going to, give out the jury's name and that kind of thing.
it's really just you're right, Adair. We only know what we've been told because we weren't allowed to see it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I really think that a lot of these rulings are rife with reversible error, which unfortunately means that we're back at square one with a new case or a new trial. Yes, I love you very much. It's not food time. I was trying to. I was like, you don't understand. I'm on verdict watch. They said 3. I just need to get home.
They said 3 and announced it a half hour early. Like I was sitting here listening to the news, and then I hear a bunch of cheering, and he's like, okay, what's happening? And I'm like, what is happening? And then this little reporter comes up, she just seemed really excited about it. And she's guilty on all 4 counts. I'm like, okay, could you hide it just a touch? Because she just,
Yeah.
I'm like, just tone it down a little.
Yeah, and the problem is look, don't get in our feels. Don't, there's going to be a lot of people gloating about this one,
Absolutely.
which, always happens. And as I've always said, it doesn't matter if I have reasonable doubt. It matters if that jury did or if they were able to talk to themselves. So I do wonder, when they start coming out, and I think that some of them will talk, what were the things that swayed them? What were the things that didn't sway them? What were the things that they wanted more questions answered about? Were they swayed when, all the prison guards and everyone said, he was faking? Was that a sway? You know, I guess there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions. This one might be considered, on the books solved, but do I think that a lot of people are going to think it's solved? No, I don't. I think this is going to be it's settled for the moment. Do I think it's settled for the forever? No.
No, and what are they gonna do if it happens again?
Well, then Richard Allen's ghost did it.
Then what are you gonna do? We
And
we we know a lot of it because of the lawyers that were in the courtroom, but like even the videos where he was, they did turn the
monitor.
monitor. Sorry, she was sneezing.
Oh no, that's what I was like. Dingus is trying to get the microphone, so you have yours and I have mine, trying to stream without.
But they were describing what the jurors looked like watching those videos, and
yeah,
they, if she obviously maybe wasn't reading them right, because like I said, I was listening to Andrea's commentary on that and recap on that, and she said the jury just looked like, oh my gosh, and was kind of looking over at the state, or like, what you guys do.
And it could be that that was part of it, but then people were really sold on, I'm sorry, he confessed, or the bullet matched, and other things. And I didn't think that Bradley Weber was a good witness, but maybe they thought he was. Maybe this was the part they were waiting for that van to startle him. I don't know. It's weird. It's useless to speculate because I'm trying to pick out things that I would think would be, big things, but it could have been that they decided, they'd started talking, during the state's case, and nothing that the defense, they might have just had a hate boner for Richard Allen. There's nothing wrong, or there's nothing that says that they are just waiting for the defense to prove him not guilty, even though they're told, that's not how any of this works.
Right.
Maybe they were hoping that they had some idea of other people that did it. Maybe their big thing was that the defense, was saying, hey, he didn't do it, but they didn't offer who else did. And I think it will be really interesting, because if that's something that could have swayed the jury and Gull made kind of a detente decision about that, that's going to be something that could be reversible. If the jury had this, would their decision change?
Exactly. So he supposedly confessed 61 times. So I think those would have been recorded phone calls to his wife, to his mom, any phone call he had. Then to Dr. Walla. Who is something. And Carmen, my cat saw your cat. Like, what is that?
He was like,
I've heard, that's the one I've heard. It seemed like a lot of people got caught up on, was the one to his mom.
And I think it would be so hard for me to square, if I'm not a psychiatrist, how you can sound pretty much lucid, but still be talking absolute crud. So that would be really hard. And even if they did have a therapist or a psychiatrist on the jury, maybe he said, look, he sounded normal in that one phone call. Yeah, you have all of this other craziness, but would you really, confess to your mother? And, would you do that? It just goes back to this isn't a starter crime to me. I don't care if
I
Richard
agree.
Allen had been fantasizing, saying he was a sex addict. I think you would have seen him have fumbling attempts to try to A, step out on his wife, B, chat up I mean, he's in the CVS. You don't think that he can say like, "Oh, I can help you with your photos." And then, there would just be, I think, escalating levels of kind of out of the line behavior. I just don't think you start with this being your first murder. I don't. But
It,
I'm not a
and it's a small town. So
yeah,
if he was weird, like a weird creeper, they would have known. His name would have been out there. Like, this look at this guy's always creepy to all these young women that come into the CVS. Like,
yeah.
and that didn't happen. It's that's what's well, he didn't have lawyers for a long time. Like when his safekeeping was put in place, he didn't have attorneys. He wasn't there. Um, I don't
Yeah.
even know.
So
Has anybody seen that order at all yet?
the safekeeping order, or
Yeah.
I think it was in the document dump, not this the first time they did a big document dump in May. So I
Okay.
think a year after, so in 2023, I think the safekeeping order was put in there. Now the question will be, is he going to go back to solitary? Are they going to keep him out of Gen Pop for either what he can say or because he could, quite possibly be killed? I don't know.
I When was the first confession? Was that's the one too?
Uh,
Is that the one to his mom?
I cannot remember. I'll have to go back and look at it because, like I said, I'm trying to put notes together and figure this out.
And I read that wrong. I'm sorry. Chloe's pig ear. I read
Oh,
that
yeah.
as first confession. I'm sorry. That's where my mind is. He confessed to unaliving his family in prison. Well, when he was already
Yeah.
in prison.
Yeah. So I think it will be important for the defense once they are able to, really ask the jurors what stuck out to them. And then, I don't know what kind of strategery, will need to be done to kind of figure out, okay, what can we appeal? What can't we appeal? You know, are these things? So it really is, it's not I don't think it was the correct choice, but I also wasn't sitting in a room with 12 people telling me, "Hey, he's guilty. He confessed. He confessed." And if you're that one person who's been away from your family, it maybe you're just ready to be done with this. I don't know. Yeah, it's it's really odd. It's an odd case. It would I wish I could shut my brain off and just say, "Oh, they got the guy,"
Mhm.
and just kinda go into that happy comfort. What worries me and what scares me is, let's say, just, hypothetically, he's not. You are now emboldened. I mean, they pinned, the Otero murders, BTK's first, family homicide on 3 boys, and it wasn't until he confessed and said, "Yeah, those 3 guys didn't do not a damn thing. It was me."
And then you
So,
gotta trust that they'll believe you if you say something like that, that you're not,
yeah,
because a lot of times like that, they'll be like, "Oh, he's just saying something." Where in this case, they're like, "No, he's confessing. He's not just saying something, he's confessing." In that situation, they could say, "He's just blowing off, trying to claim more than he did."
what I do worry about is, and look, you can think he's the most guilty person, but I do worry that he is going to not see any hope left and
Absolutely.
and, do something very drastic. And, for all that I hope that this has brought some measure of peace to the girl's family, but I think this really shines a light that the defendant has defendant's families are just as much victims in this process a lot of the time. And, really to keep, uh, maybe it's not been as easy for me, and I'll put myself on there, to really realize how hard this is even on the defendant's family. So, moving forward, what have I learned? Maybe to remember that crimes like these, regardless of, you know, if you feel like he's completely all the guilty and that's just what happens, there are so many more families that are devastated by this than just the victim's family. And hopefully, this has shown a light on that. This has shown a light on the Reed technique and how it could be very detrimental, how it can lead to false confessions, and, how important it is that we need streams of these trials. We need to be invited in because we're over here. We still have so many more questions because we weren't able to watch. I mean, maybe if we had been able to watch, we could say, okay, well, it seems like, Baldwin and Rozzy are doing good defense, but they're coming off as smarmy or,
Mhm.
know it all. And maybe Nick McClelland knew how to tailor his words to that particular jury.
And that's a really good point because we are just getting, like Andrea admits her bias as a defense attorney. So, but she was really good about saying how somebody would say something, or like when Brad Weber, kind of yelled on the stand, or was it Betsy Blair that kind of got testy with the defense attorneys? She was good about saying that, but you're right. It's not the same as us seeing it and being able to understand what's happening. How are they coming across? How are their questions hitting? How, and she just says, yeah, no, Indiana frustrates me on that because they don't, even though it's like, okay, you guys can have cameras in the courtroom, they still are horrible about it. This case should have been in, this case affected the entire state. We should
Yes.
have all been able to watch it. And she took all of that away from us to be able to be at ease. Like, did they get this right? When we're now, like you said, we're sitting here saying, we don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem because I think had all of us had a chance to look at it, watch it, all day, we could say, "Oh, well, this was a really good day for the defense," or "This witness seemed really good." I mean, imagine trying to have someone just in the room and try to explain the Sarah Boone case. I mean,
Oh,
would we really believe that Owens was as unhinged as he sounded some of those times? We'd be like, "They have got to be seeing this through, like, a weird, like, I hate Sarah Boone lens."
right.
So
And
it's
that's,
not a yeah, it sucks. It sucks when you're pretty sure that the jury can see things or you're like, "What case are we working here?" But I've also had cases where I think the state has proved their point and the jury is like, "No." So it's difficult, and I hope that, people are there for the girls and their family, but also someone is there for Kathy Allen tonight because
yes.
I can't imagine, knowing having to pick yourself up, but not only that, but be strong for your spouse who is gonna be incredibly defeated
And they're going to go away for the rest of their
for
life,
yeah,
forever. And I
and
think you're right. If he makes it that long, and if he does self delete, they'll just say that's more that he just admitted his guilt.
yeah, and I think he's very from what the therapists have said, or at least what I've gathered, he's very codependent on his wife relationship, and
Yes.
I can imagine that, this is a finality to that, and I hope that they are I hope someone with compassion is working in the prison system, although that seems to be a far-fetched Big Newton of my imagination.
It does, and I will give my daughter Carmen, I'll give her a lot of credit because she's worked in both our county, the county I live in, that jail, which is small, the county next to us, that jail, which is a lot bigger, and her current position now where she lives. And I can tell you, she treats everyone there with respect. And you can tell, like, you can tell how they treat her because she doesn't treat them like they're trash. She's not like that warden that we heard from Westville that, it's prison. Like, so what? I mean, he should never be in that position to be in charge of people that are incarcerated. They are still human. There are some really bad people out there that I don't want to give anything to, but at the end of the day, I have to for them because I need it to be there for the people that didn't do the most horrible thing.
Yes,
If
and
that
sorry,
makes
I was
sense.
making a weird face. I'm pulling news
Oh, that's
stories for
okay.
nightly newsy news, and I'm like, oh God, Megan Fox and that weird Machine Gun Kelly kid are having a baby.
They're having a
Ew.
kid.
Yeah, that was my face. I was like,
Ugh. That's true, Carmen. Your job is to keep them healthy and safe and not judge their crime. You're
and
not
it
that
would be
job.
terribly difficult. I am not gonna lie. Some of the things that these people have been convicted for are the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not, I mean, imagine there's a gajillion Sarah Boones in your local prison. They're all there. These are people that cannot figure out how to work within society. So it would be super easy to become jaded, to, get really callous. And so awesome job, not keeping them safe, keeping them healthy, but not letting it color, every experience. Because I don't know that I would be able to do that.
Yeah, she really has. She really has done a great job. I mean, and I've told her it's like, I know not everybody thinks like you, and I know not everybody acts like you in that situation, but you are still an example, hopefully maybe to show them how to do this.
Yeah, I do wonder what's going to come out after this. I think this is going to be a slow burn case. So I will say, while this has been definitely a setback, I think that this is going to be a long burn case. I think that there was so much cumulative judicial issues that there's going to be a big problem with it. I think that the state of Indiana, once more information is coming out, once the jurors get exposed to more, they might have a fight on their hand to do a retrial. But I think this all ends really nicely and neatly for certain people, but I don't think that it's a box that's going to stay nice and neat.
And it shouldn't.
No. I hope so too. That there's
Yeah, no.
only one Sarah Boone. Not that.
So Adair, yes, I get a grand jury found cause, but the grand jury only hears the state. And the
Yeah.
state doesn't have to, as a law concept, it's not fact-based. They kind of get to present it. They get to present it
Spaghetti
without
against
the
the wall.
defense. So
Yeah.
I don't like that process because it doesn't seem fair. It's to me, it's like, okay, well, it's super easy to get a grand jury to say, yeah, because they're only hearing one side and they don't get to hear the other side. I don't know how to
I think,
change it, but
yeah, I think that this will give people pause the next time maybe they hear about a confession, or at least it will for me, because I'll want to know, okay, what did that come from? What were the things, surrounding it? What was the circumstance? I don't have any more to say. I kind of want to just go have a glass of wine. But,
or 2 or 3
or 800,
or
A
bottle.
a mega bo
I
a
was
a
gonna say,
mega boon bottle. Come on.
I I I understand. These things just when that happened, like in the Zach Anderson case, it 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 affected me so much. I couldn't even watch trials for a long time because I was like, what is happening?
Well, it is kind of it's a reality check for me. Okay, what were other people seeing that I didn't see? Because I always know that I will carry my own bias and I'm like, okay, well, I still can't make this. I'm still looking at everything. And it really is kind of like a what did they see that I didn't see or what did they hear that I didn't hear? And because we don't have that free flow of information, you're kind of left wondering, well, who knows?
Yeah. And and I I understand that. That I understand that. I just it seems very lopsided to me. So if and you can probably explain it better to me than what I because I only have what I see for from a grand jury, like how I see stuff being presented to the grand jury. And the only time I see that is on true when you're watching true crime. So it's not like I have experience on one or have sat and actually got to watch one or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't have that experience. I just have the little glimpses that I have seen, and it's like it just doesn't seem the bar is not high.
Well, and I think that again, these jurors were probably picked because they didn't know a whole lot about this, and this is such a an intense case to try to jump into, just this year. I mean, you saw how we tried to explain it to Baker, and he was more confused at the end than he was at the
Absolutely.
beginning. And
Absolutely.
there's so many things, like, what are you allowed to know? What did the judge say that they could listen to? What did they not get told? And I think that the more time goes by, I think the jury's really gonna be pissed off about the things that they weren't allowed to know.
Yeah. And hopefully on appeal, but appeals aren't guaranteed.
No. I mean, it's gonna be a slog. If you feel as strongly about this case as you did and do the Zachariah Anderson, then, let's get ready to put our boots on and be in here for the long haul, you know? Let's really get into it that we're gonna need that transcript. How much is that transcript gonna cost? What kind of appellate attorney are we looking at? What are the things that we can actually get? So I really think that that's gonna be kind of the next step, and I don't know if the defense is going to also carry this into appeal or if they're gonna take a rest because, they didn't win, but daggone did they fight as
They
hard as they could for their client, even getting, taken off the case, threatened with public humiliation from a judge, no less, but they still fought. And I mean, you couldn't ask for better defense attorneys, in my opinion, given everything that they were trying to go up against. And so much of their evidence wasn't allowed in trial.
right. And just even I didn't have time to do it because it would have been days. But I wondered what the tally was on the amount of objections sustained for the state and the amount sustained for the defense because it really feels like it would be very, very lopsided. But again, we're only getting what's brought to us. So it that it it doesn't to me, Adair.
It not to me, but it some people saw it and apparently the jury saw it and they said, it was fine. So I I will be interested if the juries and they are not required to speak out. They don't have to. They can go to the grave with this. That being said, do I think that they are going to be able to do that? Probably not.
I don't know. I was talking about that earlier. If you were on this jury, once you figure out, once you release and you get to go watch things and you see the division, are you going to want to speak out? You know, I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would want that attention brought to me. And, you
Yeah.
know, what if you find out, like, what if you hear there was this evidence that wasn't allowed and you go look and you see what it is? Do you want that attention then brought to you? Like, I screwed up. You know,
Yeah. And
it's,
absolutely, Long Kong Express, no, you can do both. We can, I'm sure, do both. I think that this case has enough that doesn't pass the sniff test that I think the lawyers that have been involved in this are going to, really keep fighting for it. I'm angry, I'm disappointed, but there's not much more we can do right now. Let's take this day, be sad, you know, think about those two little girls and hope that they're at peace wherever they are. And that, if there's one thing that I could say to the absolute jackass that put up the crime scene photos on X, is those little girls deserve to be remembered as the vibrant, lively, active, loving, little girls. And I hope that people remember them as that, because it was a terrible tragedy and a terrible thing that happened in my state. And do I feel like it's been solved? No. No, I don't.
and
But I do
that,
hope for peace for those two families. And it sucks because I I I want so much for there to be justice, and I want so much for the family to feel like they have the answers. And I feel like we didn't give them any of that.
I'm with you because, you know, we live here and we've been through this for so long, and to just have everything trickle out to us. And then when we finally get to the point of we are going to see what happened here, they say no.
Yeah, that is not how you get all of us to stop asking questions. If you
Right.
really want us to stop asking questions, invite us in, show us what you have. Maybe it's
Exactly.
something that I didn't even think about, but we have this, that, and the other. Or, yeah, we understand we don't have this, that, and the other, but we have this. And, we've run it through all of our, smart stuff. Now, the only thing that would make today even halfway good is if the FBI comes out and says, "Nuh-uh, we've been investigating this," and we say, "Hells to the no."
I don't know if
I doubt
that's
that
gonna
would happen,
happen.
but
Because they were talking about that, I think when Andrea and lawyer Lee and Bob Mata, and then Bob Mata's wife took his place because he had to go to
okay.
court TV. We're saying that they did. um, they didn't really think that that was going to happen, which was kind of like it made sense to me because I thought, well, if the FBI is here and they don't think he did it, why have they not stepped up? Why are they going to even risk this man getting convicted? Because if he gets convicted, which he has, now what do you do? And
I don't know, it's still listed as unsolved on the FBI, website, but
it would
maybe
be
they'll update that.
it would be great. And Flash fan, I know, like Mo said, this is a day like you kind of lick your wounds today, but we will see another trial. We will watch another trial that will show us that it does work. It's not perfect at by any means, but it can work, I guess I should say. Um it just when you get these you get knocked down and
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna do my, newsy news at 6 p.m. and then probably, escape into, okay, you can go ahead and laugh. I would laugh at me too. But I have found I they're called Irish travelers, but they have these big just tack like Walmart spectacular weddings, and I have been binge watching those. So I will probably, have my glass of wine, binge watch, whichever tacky wedding that I'm going to be watching with a 15-year-old marrying like another 15-year-old, and I'm sure this will all just end up great.
Well, just keep your
But
suitcases in the closet if you guys start on the wine. That's my only advice. Do not
yeah,
get
we don't
out
even have
the
a big enough
suitcases.
suitcase for Mr. Mo. He's 6'4". He's just like, I need a duffel bag.
I just,
But
yep.
yeah, but don't let this get lost. If that would be my one thing. I know I have seen people work their behinds off and do so much with the Zachariah Anderson case. If this is something you feel passionately about, don't let it go by the wayside. I'm sure they'll be doing rounds, and I'm sure they'll figure out, what they're looking up for on appeal. Do we need to do a fundraiser for that? We fundraised for the experts. So, and therein might be a reversible error right there. So the lack of reciprocity between, or parity, is what I think it's called, not reciprocity, but parity between what the state was allowed to say or spend for, experts, and the judge completely nixing any funding for the defense. That's a pretty big error. Now, I'm not a lawologist, but I could imagine that that would be a clear, detriment to Richard Allen defending himself. If she says there's no funding, we don't want a funding, you can't have funding for this, we won't accept your. I think that a lot of things that Judge Gull has done is going to come back and bite them in the ass. So, like I said, it's a sad day. We can go have our mini mega pint of wine, and then tomorrow we put on our wellies, our working boots, and we get back out there and we start making a 600, yard wedding dress or whatever you choose to do. I mean, it's me. I don't know that anyone can use that much taffeta,
I
but
don't
I'm
either,
willing to.
but we can
I'm
try.
willing to wear the world's tackiest wedding dress to fundraise.
Well, and they already had to do that. They already
Yeah, they
had to
already had to do
fundraise.
that for the experts.
So, that's crazy. Hello, Dill. If you'll see, your daughter is not on stream. She's on my lap. since you're lurking, she's out.
Yes. We didn't
I
make her get like a, Richard Allen is not guilty like onesie. We didn't even do that. Free RA. And, also let's not forget that today is about respecting our veterans. Richard Allen, I think, was a veteran. And as the only non-serving member in my family, because I flunked basic, yes, I did. Fluffy people cannot run. It's just not even for, patriotism and love of country could I run.
I never even tried because I knew I wasn't cut out for it. So
Oh
I
no,
would
I got
probably.
grounded for wanting to be a conscientious objector. Like that's how Shiite patriotic my family was. I was like, I think I would have been a patriotic objector. My mom was like, "You're grounded. See how you like freedom now, you Amish." I was like, "Well, okay. I didn't realize it was that bad." She's like, "Your liberal teacher is telling you about conscientious." It's like 2000. I didn't know it was still bad. Okay. True
Oh my
story. I've
goodness.
never again been a conscientious objector.
That's hilarious. I'm still trying to
It's
picture
so
you in boot camp though, or basic.
Oh, it was not a good look.
Like,
Fluffy Mo in camo, not so great. No. I even went to like the easiest basic, the Fort Jackson in South Carolina, Relax in Jackson. No, running, I can do a lot of things for my country, but apparently running
I
is
can't
not
run.
one of
I can walk really fast or,
It's like I can march quickly-ish, like,
If you tell me to run, I am just gonna have to lay down. So
what is this thing you're asking me to do with a backpack on my back too? Like, I think we've
for many miles. Like, for many, many
yeah.
miles. Nobody wants to do that. That sounds horrible. Oh, it's hot
No.
outside too. Okay.
It
No.
wait, and there'll be people shooting at me? I am
Yes.
confused.
Yeah, I'd be like, I think I want to leave. I'm
You know,
good.
this is the worst summer camp I have ever heard of.
Yeah. I feel like I was tricked.
Yeah, but, take your time. This one stings. I'm trying to put a positive spin, but this is not the verdict any of us wanted.
No,
But
and I turned it off before I saw if anybody came out to speak because honestly, I didn't want to hear the prosecutor today.
I don't
So,
want to hear Nancy Grace. She's
ugh.
insufferable already. Can you imagine
Oh,
the
she's
insufferability of this woman? Now she's going to be at like, oh, just beyond insufferable
yeah.
with her little guilty hat or Nancy hat or whatever. Ma'am,
I can't. I can't. I,
yeah, but
I
I do need to get off of here to go figure out some sort of dinner for the family. They do like to
they do like to
get
eat.
fed all the
Yeah.
time.
Mine too. Well, I only have my husband, but he still likes to eat, so it'd be good with electronic but not infantry. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. It's just kind of this is our uh time to just lay low, let them have their moments, and then see them all later. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, like, go drink some wine, some beer, some Coca-Cola, whatever it is that makes you feel better and relaxed. Just go do that. Go outside if it's nice. Go for a walk. Just clear your head and I don't know
Yeah.
what else.
Just, hug your family. Do the small things that make, you know,
Yeah. They said she sobbed, that his wife and I think daughter were sobbing. I'm like, you think
well, yeah.
they thought he was going to come home and then you guys he's never coming home. When I'm Flash fan, you eat when you're happy too.
Yeah.
Flash fan always eats, but all right, you guys. We'll see you
Bye,
all
you guys.
later and we'll be happier next time. And Mo,
Yes,
sorry you had to race home for no reason
that's
because
okay.
Indiana
Join
can't
me
tell
on my
time.
new channel, The People of Walmart. They are everywhere. Gorgia or Traveler Weddings with Mo. I'm giving up this trial stuff. It's bad for my nerves. I'm just going to bedazzle the hell out of wedding dresses from now on. Bye, you guys.
Bye.